What's going on, guys? It's Marvel Monday, and I'm here to break down fun facts and maybe things you should know to the road leading up to Brand New Day and also Doomsday later this year. So today, starting with Brand New Day, here are 5 things you should know before you go see Brand New Day. And just in case, I am basing some of this stuff off the comics and things like that, so in case I get it right, I guess potential spoiler alert. But let's get started. Number 1, if you guys actually don't know, Brand New Day is based off a brand new reboot in the comics. It started around 2007, 2008. Brand New Day technically runs for about, I think, 102 issues around there. And it was basically meant to be a soft relaunch for the comics, basically having Peter Parker kind of reboot after the events of One More Day, which is loosely based off of No Way Home. And in that movie, obviously, Doctor Strange does the spell. In the comics, it's Mephisto, and ruins kind of like the marriage between him and Mary Jane at the time, and basically makes it so everyone forgets who he is, his true identity. Because in the comics, he revealed his identity to everybody, and he regretted it, and Aunt May was going to die. It was this whole thing, and that's the comics in One More Day. And people hated that event and hated what happened in those comics, so they basically rebooted everything, and it's called Brand New Day. And it was sort of meant to like get Spider-Man back to basics, basically, very kind of street level, kind of get things back to the status quo. And so, like I said, Brand New Day era. The movie's called Brand New Day. There's bound to be some references and maybe some villains, which I'll get to a little bit later in this movie. At least that's what I theorize. Number 2, biggest theory out there. Obviously, they're keeping Sadie Sink's character in the movie really secret. I think she's Jean Grey. I think that's kind of obviously not a hot take. A lot of people think the same thing. She's an Omega level mutant. She's super powerful. All the weird like mind control stuff that's happening in the trailers. Scorpion asking Spider-Man, "You think I'm a Scorpion?" It's kind of weird. I think it's Jean Grey. I think it's pretty obvious it's Jean Grey. I would be shocked if she's not Jean Grey. But like I said, I think that's obviously something to know going into this movie. They've yet to reveal, and they're like super teasing it, that her character's like super important, especially at the last act of the movie is what they're saying. Again, I think she's Jean Grey. I think it's pretty obvious. The thing I thought was interesting is that Tom Holland and the director have said that we have not seen the big bad of this movie. I think Jean Grey, or Sadie Sink's character, is meant to be kind of like a red herring. Like she's supposed to be kind of like the, fake villain of the movie. And I think her role is she's maybe being manipulated or controlled by someone else. Now, a huge new character that started in the Brand New Day era back in 2007, 2008 of the comics was Mr. Negative. And there are rumors that there was a character that was going to be cast as Mr. Negative, so I'm not really sure. But his powers, exactly how they sound, he negatively influences people and objects. And so I think there could be some manipulation there with Sadie Sink's character, whether it's Jean Grey or not. He could be the overall big bad. I've heard Jackal kind of around the stratosphere of theories and stuff. I don't know about that one. Jackal's like kind of a weird one-off villain. He's like Green Goblin, but less famous, basically. And he's known in the comics, at least, for kind of just messing mentally with Spider-Man. I mean, Green Goblin does too. But Jackal is more so, he creates like clones of Peter Parker. He creates a clone of Gwen Stacy back in the early comics. It's a whole thing. I don't think we're going to see an iteration of Jackal. I think that's too much of a deep cut for the Spider-Man mythos. Only weird nerds like me know who that is, usually. So I think it's best bet maybe Mr. Negative would be my guess. Also, that would kind of make sense why maybe the Hulk gets kind of either mind controlled or his little inhibitor, little wristband thing gets taken off. So he goes Savage Hulk again. Also can explain that. So my best bet is Mr. Negative is the big bad, would be my guess. Number 4, also another huge theory. Obviously in the trailers we see Tom Holland, he's like in a cocoon, and he's like, his eyes are going black, and he gets organic webbing. All that's in the trailer. They've all confirmed that. That's a huge storyline, kind of 2 storylines. One is like the Man Spider from like the 90s. If you watch the 90s cartoon, that was a huge storyline in that cartoon as well. Literally turns into a gigantic spider thing with like 4 arms and tendrils and stuff. So I don't know. I don't think he's actually going to turn into Man Spider. I think that's a little corny for kind of like a serious, more like dark movie. More like back to basics kind of movie. I think that's weird. If anything, they may pay homage to it by maybe doing like a dream sequence, like they kind of did in Far From Home, where they did like the Mysterio sequence, and it's like, very, very like anime, like CG, and really like weird and trippy. They may do that. Another one is a huge one is The Other, which basically kind of retcons Spider-Man, gives him organic webbing. Basically, he like has the choice to either die or he goes into a cocoon where he kind of like gets different powers, and they're like enhanced. His spider sense is enhanced, and it also goes in this whole thing where he like was destined to be bitten by a spider, and he's part of like, you know, the Spider-Verse and spider people, and like delves into all that. Gets really mystical. I don't really think Brand New Day is going to be really that mystical in vibe, so I don't really think they're going to really kind of go that route. Again, think they're kind of pay homage to it in a dream sequence with Man Spider, but I genuinely have no idea why his powers are acting up. It may just be kind of like a existential crisis thing that happened in Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, and the powers just go away at the end, and maybe he just keeps organic webbing. I have no idea, but I can't wait to find out. And number 5, the very last thing you should know. Tom Holland has said, Brand New Day, it does not mean anything, really, like the meaning of the movie Brand New Day, besides, you know, it being a comic book era. He says it comes at the very last like shot of the movie, like the ending is kind of what the title means, which I thought that was very interesting. A huge theory that I think would be really cool. It's a deep cut, but I've noticed during the trailers they've paid homage to a lot of comic book covers during the trailer, and when he's fighting like Tarantula and Boomerang and stuff like that. I think it's really cool. I think that's a huge, you know, obviously kind of marketing thing, is paying respect to all of these amazing comic book artists back in the day and stuff. And so a big theory is that the movie's going to end with Spider-Man actually dying, and Punisher's in this movie. There's a shot in the Civil War comic where Punisher's holding Spider-Man. He's like beat up and bruised. All the villains found out he was Peter Parker, and so they like completely just decimate him, and he's like on the brink of death. And so there's a really, really popular shot of Punisher holding Peter Parker. And then there's an old storyline from like the 90s, I think, 80s or 90s. It's called Kraven's Last Hunt, which where Kraven like literally kills Peter Parker, and then he ends up somehow, I forget, coming back from the dead, and he's like breaking out of the grave, his own grave, with like the black suit on. I believe that was before it was technically a symbiote, like an alien. It was just when he just started wearing black, and like changing his look. But a lot of people think the symbiote is going to be in the movie and very teased, and the symbiote is going to revive him, and he's going to break out of his own grave at the very end of the movie. I still think I'm on the fence that the symbiote's not coming till Secret Wars, which is technically when it was introduced to be an alien, and where you got the suit, and like obviously Venom comes later and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think that would be one heck of a way to end a movie. There were some rumors swirling that there were test screenings of the movie, and the ending was very, very good, very, very like polarizing. So I think it's very, very interesting. So I guess we'll have to see. And that's going to do it. That's 5 things you need to know before seeing Brand New Day this Thursday, or I guess technically Friday, but I'm seeing an opening night at 10:30 at night. I'm so unbelievably excited for this movie. So hopefully this helped you kind of understand kind of where the title came from, where the era is from, maybe some inspiration that we're going to see in this movie. I think it's going to be one heck of a ride. It's also the longest Spider-Man movie. This is going to be nuts, guys. This is literally going to be nuts. I can't wait. Join me next week for Marvel Monday. I'm going to break down what happened at Comic-Con, some of the announcements, some of my thoughts on Black Panther 3 and Ghost Rider, Ryan Gosling being Ghost Rider. What the heck? Anyway, see you guys next time.